Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. I'm riding solo today. Sorry for the delay, guys. I can only apologise. Had a very hectic weekend. Not been feeling too good. Still in recovery mode from Poland as well, but I think I must have caught something because I'm not feeling too good. But nevertheless, we've got two games to talk about, I guess. We've got Aston Villa versus Chelsea and then Aston Villa versus Everton. We'll start with the 3 points on the road to Chelsea. Amazing back-to-back away wins now at Stamford Bridge, which is absolutely remarkable. I think I read somewhere that that's the first time we've done that since 1933 at Stamford Bridge specifically, which is quite the achievement. And in recent years, or certainly in my lifetime, it's definitely not been a happy hunting ground, Stamford Bridge. We've been done 8-0. There's been some really big scorelines over the past decade. So for us to be able to now go there and show that we can compete, do the double, absolutely fantastic. And I mean, a lot of the outrage from this game has come, from Chelsea fans, has come from that Malo Gusto red card. It's a red card. It's pretty simple to understand why. Studs up off the ground, out of control, absolutely could have broke Dean's ankle. I think it's a really shocking tackle, and I'm really surprised that Chelsea fans are seeing something that's wrong with that. But such is the nature of modern football. But I mean, this was, I think, the sort of buzzword from this game was discipline and control. And it really feels like we've got that back. I think there are a few instances where, the high line was exposed, but thankfully due to poor finishing and acclimatising to the league from Nicholas Jackson, and just a fantastic goalkeeping performance from Emi Martinez, it must be said. We were able to get away with it. There's the one pass from Mudryk which really stuck out. Played a beautiful ball in behind that caught Kashi and Konsa completely off guard, leaving Jackson with a one-on-one with Emi. And thankfully Jackson, I mean, as good as a player as I think he will be, he's still struggling to sort of find his feet in the Premier League and hit that wide. And he's had a similar chance actually in the previous week that sort of went viral, that it almost happened in the same circumstance. I'm sure you guys would have seen the meme where people were making like the goal like 200 times bigger and it still didn't look like it was going in. But yeah, Chelsea really lack a clinical striker. They had the opportunities. There was a Sterling chance as well, which Emi does really well to save one-on-one. And I think it's very easy for us to sort of take for granted just how good Emi Martinez is. He made 4 saves in this game. They were absolutely massive. Had 2 successful run-outs as well, closing down the opposition, 76% pass accuracy. He played 17 long balls. Only 7 of those were accurate, however, according to SofaScore. But, I mean, the sort of XG prevented for Emi in this game was 1.64. So that just goes to show he really did earn us all 3 points there, Emi. And as I say, I feel like it is easy to sort of take him for granted. But in games like this, where we can go to Stamford Bridge, which, can be and is an intimidating ground and atmosphere to play in, Emi stood up and really made a difference in this game. And I think in general as well, the midfield just protected the back four a lot better than it did against Legia and at times in the Premier League season as well. I thought Boubacar Kamara was very good. You guys would have seen in the last podcast when I was sort of critiquing Kamara's recent performances, it feels like he's been playing a lot higher up. I'll put the average positions on the screen now. You can see he is the deepest of the midfielders. He's providing that cover for Ezri and is kind of, obviously he's not in a right back position, but he's positioned himself where Ezri can sort of shuffle over, makes that sort of auxiliary back three at times, which I think he's really thrived in this sort of role when he's deeper, when, there's sort of, we have more control of the game. I'm talking like out of possession in terms of shape, and we actually know what we're doing. It's quite clear that we went and executed a game plan to perfection, and Boubacar was key for that as well. But I mean, we created a fair amount of opportunities here. We had 15 shots, 5 more than Chelsea. We accumulated an XG of just over 1, as did Chelsea, as we just mentioned. Their XG prevented 0.16. So we were good value for the goal that we scored, and it was a very, very difficult finish, and we have to give Ollie Watkins the respect he deserves. Finally off the mark in the Premier League. I'm really happy for him. It's frustrating it's taken so long, but it's so sweet. That goal, the angle, obviously he gets a second bite of the cherry, as I believe it was Colwill blocks the first shot, but with the angle, how tight it is, everybody's saying that Robert Sanchez should be saving that, and that shouldn't be going under his feet or through his legs, sorry. But, I mean, can we not just give the finish the credit that it deserves? I thought it was absolutely fantastic, and my only gripe is that Ollie went to celebrate in front of the Chelsea fans and sort of stuck his fingers in his ear rather than celebrating in front of the away end and sharing that moment with him together. However, still absolutely fantastic. Zaniolo had a really good effort that was saved. Luca Dean, I mean, how many screamers is this man going to try and score this season? Jesus Christ, that was a fantastic save from Robert Sanchez. The way Dean caught that ball from sort of just outside the box, he hit it so sweet, and it would have took an absolute worldie of a save, and it did, to be fair, to sort of deny him. Obviously, he's scored a few like that now too in the Conference League, so it's great to see Luca Dean is sort of thriving, I guess, because, you know, he's someone Dan and I spoke about a lot throughout the summer. We weren't necessarily sure what would happen. There was the sort of, will he, won't he, sorry, with Saudi Arabia. So to see him playing as well as he is, and I know Alex Moreno wasn't in the squad. I believe it was a fitness issue. He was in the squad for the Warsaw game, but wasn't for this game. But I mean, he's clearly got Alex Moreno breathing over his shoulder, and Luca Dean knows he has to be putting in consistent performances, and he has been, so we have to give him the respect that he deserves there as well. So all in all, fantastic 3 points on the road. Obviously leaves us in a really nice place in the table, 6th place. We played Brighton on the weekend. That, of course, comes after our Carabao Cup game with Everton, but that gives us a really good chance to actually propel ourselves into the top 4, which seems really weird to say, you know, when you're 6 games into the Premier League, especially as it's been a little bit turbulent with the sort of the big defeats that we've had, like the Newcastle game. But, you know, we're here, we're competitive. Unai Emery knows how to get the most out of his players, and we are starting to do that. To talk about Everton, though, because I think it's going to be an interesting game, especially when you consider, I mean, for the next God knows how long, we've basically got a game every 4 days, right? So rotation is going to be key, and I think the dust has sort of settled on Legia Warsaw now, and I think we can sort of look at the team selection there, and I think it's fair to assume that we're probably going to sort of roll out with the same team. You know, guys need minutes. This is what's important, and hindsight's 2020. Hindsight is, of course, 2020. We should have gone full strength against Warsaw, but we didn't. I still fundamentally believe that the team that was put out against Warsaw was good enough to get the job done. You have to back the guys. You just do. And especially, you know, in this third round tie against Everton in the Carabao Cup, some people sort of turn their nose up at it, but this is an opportunity to get to the 4th round. It's an opportunity, you know, you're then only like, 3 or 4 games away from Wembley, a few knockout games. So, you know, this is something that Unai Emery won't take lightly. However, I do expect to see a similar team. And I think it's fair to say that the side that played against Warsaw was a weakened side, but that's not what is at the forefront of Unai's mind when he's picking the team. Obviously, he's only picking players who he feels can do a job or need minutes or whatever. He's not hanging players out to dry. He's not intentionally picking poor players to piss off fans, as it sort of the sort of general consensus on Twitter at least feels like when people see the team news and they sort of lose their minds. But I would probably expect a similar team, but just, again, we got so many games coming up. And Everton, very big win against Brentford on the weekend. They looked very convincing. They were great in transition. They really controlled that game in a way that I've seen us control games away from home, more so since the sort of turn of the year than recently. I think we've had a much better away record in the back end of last season than we have so far this season. But Everton, they executed the game plan so well, and that is exactly what you expect a Sean Dyche team to perform like, to be efficient, organised, quick in transition, and take the chances as and when they come. Saying that, though, I mean, Everton, they didn't have the largest share of possession, but in terms of shots on goal absolutely peppered Brentford. 18 shots to Brentford's 12, 6 of which were on target, and a few clinical finishes in there. Dominic Calvert-Lewin back in the goals, which is absolutely massive for them. All of that being said, I don't necessarily think Everton are going to be having, their full focus on this game, especially when you look at the fixtures. They've got very big games coming up. They play Luton Town at home on the Saturday, only 3 days later. Then after that, they've got Bournemouth at home the following Saturday, and then it's the Merseyside derby. And when you look at how the land lays with the Premier League table, Everton are currently sat in 15th, only on 4 points. Bournemouth, who they play against, on 3, Luton on 1. They're going to want to get points in because it's going to be a very long season for Everton. They're going to be up and against it, and it's going to be a bit of a relegation battle. And it seems mad to say it with only 6 games on the board, but these games against Bournemouth and against Luton are absolutely 6-pointers this early on. You need to get a bit of daylight between them two teams to just ensure survival, really. And of course, with the Merseyside derby somewhat on the horizon in the next month as well, they're going to want to have a bit of confidence. They're going to want to come into that with a few wins under their belt. So I don't necessarily expect Everton to put out a really strong side. And to be honest, even if they did, I would back us to sort of get the job done as we did earlier on. What was it, 4-0 earlier on in the season? Everton, there's a lot going on, isn't there, at Everton? And it's almost hard to predict. As I said, they were fantastic in that Brentford game, but I don't think they'll necessarily have all eyes on the Carabao Cup. And, with that being said, I even think a team that features Callum Chambers, I'm trying to think who else played centre-half, Clement Longley, even Robin Olsen in goal, players like this are going to be able to get the job done. And I think the only thing that would potentially worry me is maybe the story arc of Ashley Young returning to Villa Park again. Obviously, he accidentally assisted John Duran with his first Premier League goal way back in August. But I think Ash will want to atone for what they did last time. But other than that, I think we'll get this done. And yeah, I mean, let's go through the team I'd pick, actually. Let's go through the team, because I've said I expect it to be similar to Legia Warsaw. I've got the Warsaw team up here that we fielded out there. I think Chambers, Concert, Longley, Dean, I think that back four picks itself. You can pick between Martinez and Olsen, but I've got a feeling Robin Olsen will get a run out. He's obviously had a few games in the league. Didn't play in the conference, where he may expect to get some minutes depending on how the games go, and if we are able to wrap things up in certain games. I wonder if he'll be expecting a few starts towards the back end of the group stages if we're potentially through or in a strong position to. Youri Tielemans, I mentioned it in the last podcast, hasn't pleased me as of yet. This is the kind of game where he really needs to be sort of stepping up, taking control, and if he's got grievances with game time, it doesn't get any better than Everton at home in the Cup to really sort of stake a claim and try and get back in the team. Boubacar Kamara is somebody who has been rotated quite a bit, and I think I mentioned in the last podcast he's not particularly had the best of seasons so far. I think he's been sort of hit and miss. Look good against Chelsea, as I mentioned at the top of the podcast, but I think we've sort of got an eye on keeping him and Dougie fit, because I mean Dougie's just in a league of his own, man. He's been absolutely fantastic. I wonder if Timur Bunham is fit and able. I wonder if he'd cameo at some point. I don't necessarily think he'd start. Obviously, he had an operation. He's going to have been lacking match minutes, real-time minutes. So I wonder if he is involved. If he does come off the bench, it'd be interesting to see. But, I mean, I expect Bailey to start here. Zaniolo, another one you would expect to start. Maybe we see Bertrand Traore in this game. Feels like it's been a little while since we've seen Bertie. And John Duran feels pretty nailed on to start up front. He's had a really great start to the season. And, you know, I mentioned it in the last podcast, you just get a gut feeling about certain players. And I have a really positive gut feeling about John Duran. I think he's going to go to the very top. I like what he has to offer. And this is exactly the kind of game John Duran needs to, again, to sort of be knocking on Unai Emery's door and go, listen, obviously we've got a game against Brighton on the weekend. I think I'm good enough to start. So yeah, guys, let me know your score predictions in the comment section down below, though. I think we'll get this one done. I'm going to go back the Villa with a 1-0 win, and I'm going to give that goal to John Duran. I think he will get on the score sheet again. Did against Everton earlier in the season, so I'm sure he will now. But guys, let us know your score predictions in the comment section down below. Thank you if you've made it this far into the podcast. I really appreciate it that you've listened to me ramble for probably about 15-20 minutes. I don't know how long I've been going. And yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, make sure you follow, leave a review, rate the podcast 5 stars. It all helps more than you guys could imagine. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and up to the Villa.